On this episode of Exactly How Podcast and YouTube Show, we uncover exactly how to drive for dollars the right way.
You're listening to the Exactly How podcast, where you'll hear the underground, closely guarded wealth building secrets of successful people around the globe. Discover exactly how to improve your mental, physical, and financial health. Feel better, make more money, live, give, and prosper in today's exciting, fast-paced world filled with opportunity for those who know exactly how.
Welcome to the Exactly How Podcast and YouTube Show, brought to you by Connected Investors. Now, during this episode, you'll discover exactly how to drive for dollars the right way. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Sean Young, today's host and proud member of the Connected Investor community. Now, before I introduce you to our incredible guest speaker today, I want to make a request that if at any point in the show you like what you're hearing, please give us a thumbs up so that you can subscribe to the show and never miss an episode. And take a look in the description of this episode as we've packed it with thousands of dollars in free resources. Now, guys, today we have the privilege to learn from someone who took a marketing agency operating with just a handful of people to nearly 100. Now, prior to his career in real estate, he had several random jobs, including a valet driver, playing the trumpet at funerals, and a marketing intern. But all that changed when he joined the DealMachine family, and as the vice president of partnerships, all that changed. So I would like to describe our next guest as a connector. I'd like to introduce you guys to the one, the only, Matt Kamp. Hey, Matt, thanks for being a guest on today's show.
Yeah, thanks again, Sean. I appreciate you having me on, and excited to chat today.
Absolutely. Yeah, DealMachine is a great tool that I've been using for years and whatnot. So I'm definitely excited to have you share that with our audiences as well. But Matt, can you tell our audience, where you're from and what market you're in, and just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, I'm based out of St. Louis. We have most of our team in Indianapolis, in Indy, which DealMachine started maybe 3-4 years ago-ish at this point. David Lecco, the founder of it, is actually a guy I've known personally for quite a long time. The two co-founders were actually at my wedding party. So they've been personal friends forever, grew up with the guys, went to high school with them, have known them for a long time. I actually had, back in 2009, the CTO of Influence & Co. and I, or CTO of DealMachine and I, before I joined my prior gig at Influence & Co., we had an app development firm as well. So my background's in technology, it's in marketing. So I've had professional experience with these guys. And then again, like I said, they've been good personal friends my whole life too. So it's been extremely exciting to see DealMachine, start and grow and continue to be, be as great of a technology as possible within that driving for dollars world, that lead gen world for real estate investors. But really my background was more on marketing, technology, on partnerships. And then it's funny, over the years, I had quite a few friends get into real estate investing, and it was an area that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in high school. I knew in the back of my mind, hey, real estate is an area that I'd always planned on getting into. I would do quite a bit around listening to podcasts like this, or whatever, really consuming different articles and newsletters, and really trying to take in as much information as possible within the real estate investing world, which maybe a good number of people listening to this may be in the boat that I was in as well, of passively consuming quite a bit of information, but not quite taking action on it yet. And, for me, it's been exciting to be able to actually, join DealMachine, take action personally. I'm out there driving for dollars myself now. I'm really kind of practicing what we preach from that perspective. So I think I fit into a really, a bucket that would be the ideal, DealMachine user too. So I can really speak to my personal experience and, really getting into real estate in general.
That's awesome, Matt. So Matt, now before we dive into exactly how to build that team, a successful team, and how to drive for dollars successfully, Matt, you say that you contribute a lot of your success to building relationships. Can you tell our listeners why that is?
Oh, completely. I mean, I think, that's the that's the skill that I've really tried to focus on, the first decade of my career. It's like, okay, I think no matter what you do, no matter what skill you bring to the table, your network is something that is irreplaceable and is invaluable. Like that's something that I really, have tried to take that mindset of any job that I do, any internship I took on when I was a college student, any company that I join. I want to proactively make as many relationships with people as possible at that organization and within our overall network, because that's something you can always take with you and is irreplaceable, and something that is priceless in terms of new opportunities coming up. Like, that's something that as you consistently try to help out other people, which is really the mindset that I take into networking, is, when I get to know somebody, my goal is to really connect with them on a human level, like really get to know them personally and care about them that way. But then, translate that into really asking them questions of understanding how can I help that person, and that compounds on itself. It's something that I learned from my first mentor, like in my previous firm that I was at, that marketing agency you talked about. Our CEO there, John Hall, was somebody that I really got to hang out with quite a bit. And the main thing I took away from him was, try to build as many ways as possible to add value to others. And that means, getting to know people, figuring out how you can be helpful, being creative on how you can connect the dots for them. And when you do that over and over and over again, that can compound on itself into a network that is pretty powerful, and something that I want to continue to do, no matter what industry I'm in, no matter what, what my next, role is. It's like, hey, how do I help continue to provide value to others and build a network that goes with me?
Man, I really like that, Matt. That's really important. A lot of folks out here really, they kind of, I think, miss the point when folks say, go out there and give of yourself, because it's no way that you're going to receive without giving. That's just how kind of like the laws of the universe work. And if you observe these principles and laws and, figure out how you can work within those principles and laws versus trying to change them, it'll definitely be to your benefit. And not only that, but I mean, what Matt said is super important. Like, I mean, he said, listen, I absorbed information. But not only did I absorb information from top level folks, but, I felt like, hey, I know I don't have maybe much to offer, but what can I do to help you? What can I do to help your organization grow? I'm willing to give of myself in any way. And people, like he said, will remember that. They'll come back to you in the future when they're building something different or going off into something else and say, man, that guy, Matt, he was a go-getter. Not only that, but he really went above and beyond. He's somebody who I want on my team. So guys, how you do anything is how you do everything. So put your best foot forward when you're doing things.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I kind of call it my toolbox that I build, but that toolbox would be, different creative ways that you can come up with ways to help someone. That could be, introducing someone to other people. That could be knowledge. Like if you become, very knowledgeable within a very specific world and kind of give your advice there. For me, that was marketing for a long time, and now real estate as well, of like, how do I educate people and bring my knowledge to a conversation? And like I said, connections like that, it can be a variety of different things that you build up over time, that if you can go into a conversation and have that mindset of helping them and really be genuine about it and not expect something in return. And, you can very much say, if they ask like, hey, how can I help you? Make sure you have a prepared answer for that. So that way, you can guide those people and honestly, the more you help others, the more they want to help as well. Like it's just a natural thing that, if you're talking to another go-giver, like they're very much wanting to figure out how can they help you as well. So if you have something in mind, or if you have, a strategic direction and can be very, can really, enunciate that well to them, that's going to compound on itself too. But really the goal is like, come into those conversations genuinely ready to give, ready to care about that person. And when you do that over and over again, it adds up into, something exciting.
Man, great responses, man. Great response. I really appreciate that. Now, guys, what makes the Exactly How Financial Freedom podcast and YouTube show unique is that each and every show comes with a detailed action plan. We pull the steps out of the show, create a blueprint on exactly how to implement what we're covering today. Plus, you get to get our free training right now. All you guys have to do is text the word exactly to 910-600-0630 to see it for yourself. Now, you can find properties in any town for pennies on the dollar. This is a software that I use each and every day, guys. Now, all you have to do is visit connectedinvestors.com/free to get the key takeaways, the resources, and access the special DealMachine link that Matt has offered to our listeners. Matt, what does that link exactly include?
Yeah. So I know really in general, the main thing we're trying to preach to people is, like I talked about, it's about taking action. So that's phenomenal that you're listening to podcasts like this, that maybe you follow Sean, in general, and I've worked with him beyond that, with, courses and things like that. Any of that knowledge, that's phenomenal. But the goal is, how do you apply that and turn that into real action? And from a DealMachine perspective, that's our goal. Like, we've created a technology to help you take action on your learning, on your, any other real estate investing knowledge that you have. That being said, really kind of the specific link, and any kind of, link you go through there, we want to start off with an easy trial for people. So that way they can take action. They can actually go and start to try driving for dollars and drive around and find their first deals. But then also it hooks them up with actual deal credits on there too. So that way those deal credits apply towards things like direct mail, or, giving somebody a call. Like, there are various things within the technology that are really these marketing channels to get in touch with the owners. So that way, when you're driving around, when you're taking pictures of properties, when you're starting to create your database of people that your own list that's original to you and to you only, these marketing channels are the method of you not just building that list, but getting in touch with those owners. So we tried to hook you guys up here of, like, saying, hey, if you're gonna go do the free trial and start to take action and start to try to get in touch with property owners, here are a few credits for you to be able to not just add people to a list, but to really get in touch with them and try to give them a call or send them a postcard as well.
Man, that is awesome stuff, Matt. So guys, make sure you head on over to connectedinvestors.com/free to take advantage of that offer. I mean, it is a great tool, Matt. I've definitely heard rave reviews about it. I've used it myself, and I can tell you guys, it is phenomenal. When you're out there driving around and you see properties that you're thinking in your head, man, that looks like something that could potentially be a deal for me. Hey, well, that's what the DealMachine app is for. You snap a picture right there while you guys are out there in the field, get the postcards sent out right there on the spot. Like Matt said, if you want to skip trace the owner's name, all that stuff is done for you right within the app, pretty much instantaneously. It's just at the push of buttons, guys. So, all right. Now, as nearly 1 million people out there know, Connected Investors is a social network of real estate investors, and it's a marketplace of investment properties. Now, in the description of this video, we've included a link to today's episode and the forum in this discussion. So, Matt, before we get into the steps to build a successful real estate team, what are the most important characteristics or attributes needed for a real estate team to thrive?
Yeah. So I think, when you define team, are you talking about real estate broadly, or are you thinking more actual driving team and street team like that?
Yeah, sure. Well, since we're talking about the DealMachine Driving for Dollars app, let's make it based upon like that street team that could be part of your team if you're just somebody getting started out here.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. Yeah, I mean, I think really the key that we begin to tell people to start off with is, anytime you're building a team, you really want to experience that particular skill yourself, and really, initially start off and get comfortable with, the idea of driving for dollars. So, step one, for us is saying, hey, start getting out there, physically getting in your car and actually driving around a particular neighborhood. Start looking for distressed properties. So we really define that, as a property where it could be literally, something just out of place, where, there's some kind of signal to say, hey, this owner may or may not want to deal with this property any longer. The more obvious stuff would be a tarp on the roof, or, grass growing through the driveway, or, gutters falling off, or, paint peeling off, or, things like that, where, it's a little bit more of a, quote unquote ugly house, something that needs help. The less obvious stuff, I mean, I know our VP of enterprise on our end, like his first deal he ever got through DealMachine was actually getting in in touch with an owner that had, it was an absentee owned property, and they had Halloween lights still up, and it was like February. So it was, it was not necessarily a super obvious thing of like, oh, maybe it's a distressed property, but it was just a signal to say, hey, maybe this person's not quite keeping up with the, they blew through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all that, never changed it. So
maybe something's going on there.
Something's going on there. So like things like that, I would say getting out yourself and starting to identify what do distressed properties look like, what, starting to get used to driving for dollars yourself is kind of step one, and start adding properties there. Once you have that down, we really try to make it very, very easy for you within the DealMachine app to kind of scale that team and say, okay, let's invite other team members to my DealMachine account that would be just what we call deal finders. And those are people who could be anything from somebody who you hire full time that you found on Indeed and have recruited to be able to drive for you. It could be just a family member that's saying, hey, I want to make a couple extra bucks on the side and spend a couple hours a week, have a couple hours a week to drive around and help you look for deals. So once you're used to being able to drive around and start adding properties yourself, expand that out to add a deal finder or two, or, you want to long-term, the goal is to scale that team. So, you can do it, regardless. In DealMachine, within our technology, we make that process really simple and easy, and we make it easy to manage those people where, if you put them in, you can really track their routes. You can really, see how long they drove around, see how many properties they added. You can see, if you ever close a property, you can see where that came from. So you can know, what is the return on investment I'm getting for paying someone to drive around for me. Is that turning into actually any properties, anything under contract, right? So I'd say, start driving around yourself, invite other team members to start doing that too. Make sure you know who's in charge of that, the success of that team. Initially it's probably you, but if you start to really scale that driving team and add, quite a few people that are driving around for you, you might want to consider having somebody else, remove yourself as you build your real estate investing business, remove yourself and have, an actual manager to be able to hold each of those drivers accountable and understand who's driving where and what routes and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the initial infrastructure. I think the next step beyond that would be, okay, as people are starting to drive around, make sure that you're optimizing your actual marketing methods. So, again, like you said, you could be skip trace and call people on the spot. That's great. But I think the way to really scale this is through automation. And, that's where DealMachine, we built that in mind is we're going into it. And I know David Lecco, our initial founder, when he came up with the idea, it was him driving around and, writing down addresses and then looking up how to get in touch with them and then writing a postcard and, mailing that off. And just doing that all manually is just brutal. It took him 20 to 25 minutes per property. He measured, he figured out, we did a trial around that a little while back. With that in mind, through the DealMachine app and through automation, you can actually set all of that up in a matter of 10 seconds or less. So, you're going from 20, 25 minutes per property to that. And the goal, the main success factor for that is if you have someone out there, whether it's yourself or your driving team, adding a ton of properties to DealMachine and building that list for you by driving around, going in there and using automation to send mailers to them, which, when you go in the app, you can look at each individual property and hit send, start mail. When you do that, you can set up email or postcard templates that say, okay, here's exactly what I want them to say. We have default ones to make it easy for you if you want, but you can go in there and actually get very custom on that email or on that postcard template, the mail template. You can customize your signature to show, you and your family or you and a pet or, something to really make it a little more personable. So that way, when someone gets this in the mail, you have a much higher chance of them responding to you if it's, custom and personable that way. And then the third layer, there's templates, there's signatures. The third layer is campaigns. And that's the automation piece I'm talking about is you can get in there and customize and say, all right, I want to send this person, a postcard every 15 days for the first 45 days. So send 3 right away. And then every 45 days following, I want to send them one more postcard. So you can get really specific and custom, to save yourself time and say, okay, I'm going to set up an entire year's worth of postcards for this person through one click of a button, go do it and hit start. And that way you're initially getting on their radar. And yeah, you could have deals come from that, like their first postcard they receive. You may or may not have, people that are going to respond to that and say, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to have a conversation. But more likely than not, you're going to have probably your first deal is going to be from somebody who, or, your next deal is going to be from somebody who sees your postcard, says like, hey, this is something to keep in mind in the future. Maybe they put it on a stack of mail. Maybe they put it on their fridge, they keep it somewhere. And then 6 months down the line, after you've sent them 3 more postcards and have continued to stay top of mind, when they're ready to sell and they're like, hey, yeah, I need somebody to buy my home or buy a property I own. You're the first one they think of because you're the one that's been sending this mail to them over time, right?
Consistency has been consistent, absolutely.
Exactly. So the consistency is everything. It's the follow through, and our goal was to make technology to make that scalable, to make that something that you don't have to sit there every day and make another 100 postcards. Like, it's something that's automatically going to send out for you.
Or
so if you
have your calendar alarms all set, okay, today I got to send out 30.
It'd be brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's like, well, yeah, like I said, our founder was trying that out, and our goal is like, okay, let's make that really simple and easy. So to create your team, I think you have to understand, like, you need to set them up for success through these mail campaigns, through this system, have someone, managing how often they're driving and that type of thing. But to even begin with, like, start driving around yourself, start getting used to this, start setting those mail campaigns. And then from there, you can go into recruiting and managing those people. So I'm happy to give any other strategies on those two things. But, I think that's kind of the foundation of what you should be thinking about.
Awesome. Great response, Matt. Let me ask you one quick question that came to mind when you mentioned the team.
Yeah.
Are you paying these folks? Are you putting them on salary? How do these folks get paid? I'm sure our listeners out there are like, man, I don't have any money to pay for a team. What do you mean a team?
Yeah, a team. The word team can sound intimidating in terms of, like, hey, I'm not hiring an entire, a bunch of full-time people to do this. I mean, we can, in DealMachine to begin with, you get, if you're even on the basic plan, you get one deal finder to start with. So this could literally be, your spouse or a college student that's in your family that has you can find a couple hours here or there to go out and have them drive around, or that kind of thing. Like, it could be somebody that doesn't have to be super formal where you're actually hiring somebody full time by any means. I'd say start small. We tried to make the technology as easy and simple as possible to do that and help you take baby steps where you do get to the point where you're comfortable of, I'm actually closing a lot of deals, and I'm confident in bringing in full-time people and can scale with you. So we tried to make the software as simple as to approach it with 1 or 2 drivers, but is also extremely complex. So that way it can scale with you when you need to hire an entire team, actual team driving around for you like that at scale. So from a payment standpoint, like, there's a couple different ways you can think about that. There's, I usually recommend, in terms of best success that we've found, is a combination of a performance-based model and then also a steady pay hourly model. Mm-hmm. Where most people, we see them offering like, hey, I'll pay you, $10 to $15 an hour to go out there and drive around, for me. And then, or I'll pay you $1 per added lead that is a qualified lead that I go in and say, hey, when they go and use the DealMachine app, they're taking pictures of these properties, they're putting them into your system, and they only have access to, if they're a deal finder setup, they only have access to doing that. They're not going to actually call the person or send any postcards or anything, because that's going to use your marketing budget, right? So I'd say if you can go in there and approve those and pay them accordingly to that, as well, that usually goes a really long way, because you're incentivizing them like, hey, you're going to get paid on how many, how you do on your actual
quality of the leads, not
the quality
pictures of houses out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you can find a way to justify, okay, I'm going to pay them hourly, to drive a couple hours a week. I think a reasonable goal for them is if they can even just do 20 to 30 properties an hour. Like, I think that's it's going to greatly fluctuate. Like we've seen people get up to 60 plus. We've seen people, do 10 to 15 because they're really spending their time, taking their time on it. But if you can at least start and say, hey, add 20 to 30 an hour, that's going to get you up to, potentially 100 or 200 properties leads per week. And the cost for that would be what, if they're driving around for, call it 6 hours, and then you've got, those qualified properties that could be up to, a couple hundred or a couple $100 either a week or a month, depending upon how you're doing it. When you're closing actual deals from that's an investment. That's not a cost. That's an investment in your marketing. So I would say, again, start small, start doing it yourself, start bringing on one person to drive around, even a couple hours a month for you. But that's where you're going to start to build momentum, start to close those initial properties. And then you can actually scale up in a responsible way and pay, allocate a marketing budget that's going to be actually realistic for you.
Absolutely, guys. Great tips, Matt. We really appreciate it. I mean, guys, are you hearing what Matt's laying out for you? I mean, this is what a lot of folks talking about, how can I get started with, I don't have a huge budget, but, I know I need some tools. I mean, DealMachine is definitely a great tool for you guys, it sounds like. And Matt definitely broke it down for you guys on how you could take advantage. I mean, he's almost giving you step-by-step on what you need to go out there and do, how to get a small team started right away. All this stuff is just geared towards being able to put you in the position to take action right away. So guys, as a reminder out there, if at any point in the show you like what you're hearing, you like stuff like what Matt has given us today, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe to this show so that you never miss an episode, because it's your engagement that drives us and keeps us doing this for the community for free. So Matt, what do you think your life would actually be like if you never joined the DealMachine family?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like my previous company, I absolutely loved my role there. Like I was really focused on our partnerships, on taking it was a marketing agency. It was Influence & Co is the name of the company. Really enjoyed that journey. I think similar to my answer on the networking piece, like I think everything that I've tried to focus on within my career, I want to build on itself and I want to take with me. So, every relationship that I built through my role at Influence & Co. Was, preparing me in a way for this. And, I really tried to build relationships that I was giving and giving and trying to build a real genuine relationship. So caring about those people personally that I was talking to, and also figuring out ways to help them. So it is funny. Like I think this came up, organically over time. And like I said, some of my best friends started this company. So I knew at some point I wanted to work with Dave and David again, but it's something where I think I've really focused on no matter what or when or what opportunity I was going to be taking. I really tried to own my current role and, build things and build relationships that I could then take with me, as I continued in the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Matt, I mean, I've really enjoyed this episode. You've given a lot of great content, great information, useful, helpful information that I'm sure our listeners are going to love. So definitely thanks for being here on our show today. But before I let you go, we have what's called the rapid fire session. And on this part of the show, I'm going to ask you a series of questions and you answer them as fast as you can. Just say the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
I'm ready to get in the hot seat. Let's do it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict were your parents?
5.
Get up early or stay up late?
I'm a stay up late guy for sure. Night owl.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
Oh man, I wish it was 8 a night. Probably closer to 7, which is, respectable, I think.
Indeed. Favorite or last book read?
Oh man. I really liked Rich Dad Poor Dad was one that changed my mindset. I really liked 4 Hour Work Week because that changed my mindset as well in terms of passive income and things like that. But then, there's classics like How to Win Friends and Influence People and a couple books like that are more relationship building books that have really changed my mindset too. So there's a couple books that are a little more like cornerstone, keystone type books for me that have changed how I think about things.
Awesome. If you could be any superhero, Matt, who would you be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I always liked Batman just because it was, Superman's great, but he seems almost like cheating, where he's invincible and he's not, doesn't seem as human. Whereas Batman is a figure of like somebody who like seems like they really want to actually help the world, and you can connect a little bit more with, and seems more realistic. So I think that's a probably a cliche answer, but I always have loved Batman.
Good one. If you could, something everyone should do less of.
Less of. I think, less of, I think, would be maybe freaking out to a particular situation. Like if people spent a little more time, thinking, trying to spend time like focusing on the things that are in your control, and really try to proactively spend time thinking about what you're grateful for, and have gratitude in general of your situation, and try to spend mindful time changing your inner monologue to be positive, versus if you see a situation that happens and act really reactionary and really have those initial negative thoughts. I just think if you can change your inner monologue to be to react more positively to begin with, it can change a lot of things in your life. So focusing on things like gratitude's one way to do that, but focusing on exercises to try to help your inner monologue, I think can go a long way.
Well, you basically answered the next question, which is something that everyone should do more of.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I took that last one.
And that was great. So we'll go on right on to the next one, which is Bitcoin, bang or bust?
I actually am a big fan of it. I really like, I just like the blockchain technology. So I believe that there's going to be some winner in crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or another coin, but I'm a big fan of it, but also I'm not somebody who's saying, hey, put all your savings into it too. I'd say, whatever you're comfortable with saying, hey, this, whatever you're comfortable with potentially losing all of, I would say you can, I would, think of it that way. But I'd also highly recommend if you have the means at all to do it, to really look into it and get into it at least a little bit if you can.
Good stuff. Will people live on Mars in your lifetime, Matt?
Live as in, I think people will visit it, and which, would lead to some people at least being on there for extended stays. So I think in our lifetime, that'll happen at some point. Technology is increasing so fast. It's crazy.
So fast. Well, Matt, those are some great answers. And again, I definitely want to thank you for being a guest on today's show. And all of our listeners out there, you guys have once again made it to the end. And most people never finish what they start. So you're special. Now, if you guys got any value out of today's show, share this with a friend or on your Facebook page. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and send us topics you want to learn more about. Now, like I said earlier, nearly 1 million people use the Connected Investors social network and marketplace to connect. In the description of this episode, we've included a link to this episode's forum discussion. Tap that link, ask me and other pros questions, and see what investors are saying about this very episode. So guys, until the next time, you can catch me on the inside of Connected Investors. See you inside.
The Connected Investors app connects you with investors, notifies you of available properties, helps locate cash buyers, and secure private funding to close deals. Set up in seconds to become a member of the Connected Investors social network. Now you can scroll through your main feed to find cash buyers, see investment properties not available to the general public, and network with investors by adding your own comments to a thread to keep the conversation going. The Control Center is your connection to add properties to sell, start new discussions, connect with local investors, and even find private funding. The Notifications tab will keep you alerted to new investment properties and offers. You'll also find new friend requests to connect directly with the community to build your network. From the property marketplace, you'll be able to find, favorite, and make offers on investment properties. Download Connected Investors today to find, figure, fund, and flip investment properties on the go.